state agencies.
State agencies. Because there's a lot of duplication of roles. Some are not giving value, giving Kenyans value for money. And as a result of that, what we are saying is because there's a bit of laxity when it comes to their own accountability, then that's how they end up incurring such a huge pending bills or unpaid. And penalties, then penalties come in because they must be penalized. When they don't pay.
Which they aren't penalized.
Yeah, basically because even the auditors, look at the way they audited. Actually, we have a lot of questions as in the budget committee. And if there's an area we have a lot of questions relating to how money is accounted for, is money given to parastatals. And we have said the way out, if we want to help this country, the way out is they should submit budget like the other departments do. Program budget, which says, I will be given 10 million, and these are my expected outcomes and outputs, so that we can monitor the outcomes and the outputs. This is a situation where you give them a block figure, and then that's why you see some of them, they are still demanding money from the National Treasury, and they have invested in private accounts, billions of shillings, just to continue accumulating more.
Yeah, but the question is, who approves about the loans? Does it also
there is no loan in this country. We can be in card
from the
without authority of Treasury.
And the accounting office.
Yeah. So any loan which has to be borrowed must be authorized by Treasury, either by county governments, either by parastatals. Treasury is only by law allowed to authorize borrowing. That is constitutional. So where you hear they have borrowed...
So legislators have no say in this borrowing?
No, the borrowing, we have a say because we approve the borrowing ceilings. You remember the public... We have a public debt and...
So they play around, that is the wiggle room of the
So the window we give them, they play around with that. But they can always go to convince Treasury, we are borrowing for this, but in reality, they don't have a genuine reason for borrowing.
So the question is then, should taxpayers be forced to shoulder the debt burden of, mismanaged projects they did not even directly, approve?
They have no choice because the law is very clear. Repayment of debt is first charged to our consolidated fund.
But surely somebody should be held accountable.
Accountability, and it's not even parastatals alone. Accountability is missing all over the place. How many times have we discussed with you the issue of commitment fee, where we are paying fees for loans not withdrawn? We are not drawing loans. So we pay, and no more answers. So we are saying we have just a very careless attitude to manage our public resources. And the law is very clear. We need to go against prudent management of public resources.
The Central Member of Parliament, Dr. Makali Muli, has openly criticized President William Ruto, questioning his leadership and the direction in which he has taken the 13th Parliament of Kenya. The legislature expressed deep concerns about the way Parliament is functioning under the current administration, saying the institution has been weakened and is no longer operating independently as it should be. Makali Muli comments comes at a time when public debate on the country's economic situation is intense. Many Kenyans are feeling the impact of rising living costs, limited job opportunities, and struggling business environments. Against this backdrop, the MP has accused the government of sending mixed signals on economic empowerment. He argued that the promise made to uplift citizens financially are not being matched by the practical actions on the ground. The MP is particularly concerned about what he sees as a culture of excessive borrowing by the government. He believes that the executive can easily persuade the Treasury to take a loan even when there is no urgency or a justified need to do so. In his view, this has created a circle where the country's debt continues to grow, yet the benefit of this borrowing are not clearly visible in daily lives of citizens. Makali Muli has built a reputation as one of the more outspoken members of parliament on matters of public finance. Over the years, he has consistently raised alarm about Kenya's debt level, worrying that unchecked borrowing could put the country in dangerous position. His recent remarks reflect a continuation of what stands with sharper criticism directed at the leadership style of President Ruto. The legislator feel that Parliament has lost its ability to provide strong oversight of the executive. According to him, instead of acting as a watchdog, Parliament now appears to operate under the influence of the presidency. This, he say, has made it harder for lawmakers to question decisions or reject proposals that might not be in the best interest of the country. His criticism also touches on the issues of symbolic gesture versus real impact. He suggested that while leaders talked about empowering citizens economically, the measures introduced so are far too small to make a meaningful difference. In his assessment, the government needs to focus on creating sustainable programs that generally improve livelihood rather than relying on token amount or one-off intervention. Makali Muli's remarks highlight a growing frustration among some legislators who feel that Parliament is becoming less effective. There is a concern that major policy decisions, especially those involving public funds, are being made with limited debate or challenge from MPs. For him, this trend undermines the democratic progress and leaves the country vulnerable to poor economic management. Kenya's economic challenges have been widely reported, with high inflation, currency depreciation, and the debt repayment pressure dominating the headlines. The government has defended its borrowing policy, saying loans are necessary to fund infrastructure projects and social programs. However, critics like Makali Muli argued that without strict accountability, much of this borrowed money fails to produce long-term benefits to the people. The MP also believes that President Ruto needs to take a step back and evaluate the state of the country under his leadership. He wants the president to reflect on the policies that have been implemented and to consider whether they are achieving their intended goals. In his view, this kind of self-assessment is necessary if the government is to realign its priorities and strengthen the institution that safeguards the democracy.
To legislate against Harambee. You know, a number of members have actually had a number of attempts. But what we are saying is, Harambee, if done in a very open way, is a good way of raising resources. And it has helped many Kenyans. Kenyans do conduct Harambees for health issues, conduct Harambees to construct schools. But if you look at the way it is conducted, it's modesty. What we are seeing with this thing called empowerment, and I'm sorry to use the word empowerment because as an economist, we are abusing that terminology. You know, people go out there, what is happening is leaders are taking this opportunity to empower themselves and leave our poor Kenyans suffering. How can you talk about economic empowerment in a situation where you give somebody 68 shillings, others are sharing getting that 4 shillings? What kind of empowerment is this? And this we are saying, actually I agree with what Honorable Makali said. President Ruto needs to take a mirror and look at himself and reflect what he has done to the 13th Parliament and apologize to Kenyans for what he said today. Because he knows it.
He knows it.
He knows it himself. He's the initiator of all this debate we have here. Immediately while voted in, he went on a buying spree to get the speakership. And since that time, it has never stopped. So when he says that Parliament, it's like you are in the streets, you are a thief, I've stolen Mutunga's shirt, and I go shouting, Kibageti is a thief. Yes. It's very wrong.
But what stops you as legislators to question this empowerment fund for